Welcome back to a Football Friday live right here on the early line. Our final half hour of every Football Friday gets you ready for the weekend in the National Football League. That Sunday slate, only 12 games this Sunday because it's our first weekend of buys around the NFL. The Titans, the Lions, the Eagles, and the Chargers all have that early bye week to start this season, week number 5. But still 12 games. We only had 13 the last 2 weekends because we had a doubleheader of Monday Night Football, so still pretty robust. We've got our first London game of the year. And in every final half hour of a Football Friday, we give you our pick six. It's our picks, our previews, our best bets for a Sunday slate around the National Football League. Maybe this is your first Football Friday. Maybe you need a refresher. Here is what the pick six is. Our favorite anytime touchdown score of the weekend, somebody to hit pay dirt. Our favorite money line underdog, somebody to win outright in what has been the year of the dog. Our favorite under of the weekend, an alt line that we like with a little bit of plus money to boot, a yardage prop across the entirety of the slate that is our favorite, and then we combine forces for a 2-leg, 6-point teaser that we need to be better at doing, but we will find that mojo and rhythm entering week number 5. That I have no doubt. Raineri, please begin. Your favorite anytime touchdown score of the weekend is who and in what game?
All right, so I am going to start with this Washington and Cleveland Browns game, and I am going to look to Jaden Daniels with an anytime touchdown score in this one. Listen, I do think this is the best defense that Washington will have seen. This is now some tape here on this. I do think the Browns defense will be able to cause some havoc. I do think Daniels is going to have to rely on his legs more in this one. Washington has run the ball very well. He's already has 4 rushing touchdowns already on the season. At plus money here, I have no doubt that Jaden Daniels will likely have to run another one in this game. So I will back him to get that done at plus money.
It is crazy to think of the numbers that Jaden Daniels has put up. Of course, he was named the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Month for the opening month of this NFL season in September. 82.1% completion percentage. It is the best for a quarterback in the National Football League through the opening 4 games of a season in league history. He also leads the NFL in quarterback rushing touchdowns at 4. He has scored in 3 of 4 games, including last week against Arizona. He had multiple week number 1 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I like the number, Joe. They have used his legs. They have incorporated his running ability. It is why they don't punt, because he keeps picking up first downs, moving the sticks with his legs as well. I'm going to look at Aaron Jones in the Sunday game in London, plus 110. Aaron Jones has been a revelation for this Minnesota offense. Sam Darnold, Justin Jefferson, great for sure, but I think Aaron Jones is one of the reasons it is making this Vikings offense tick. He has 109 total yards in 3 of the 4 games. He's got 139 scrimmage yards in the last 2 weeks for Minnesota. And the Jets are good against the pass. They're a little bit weak stopping the run so far this year up front, and they were a year ago. And for how great Aaron Jones has been, Joe, in terms of yardage, he's not been great in finding pay dirt. Only 2 total touchdowns so far this season, including a rushing score way back in week number 1. That's it, 2 total touchdowns. I think he is rewarded for his yardage production on Sunday in London, finding pay dirt for the 3rd time this year at plus 110.
Yeah, no, I got no problem with that, too. I do think that it's going to be an interesting game, Ben, on a Sunday morning at 9 a.m. It's actually a game that we should all be very excited to see because Minnesota heading into their bye week. What version of Minnesota do we get? Are they going into the bye week 5-0, Ben? Oof.
Now, that would be something. The Chiefs don't play until Monday night against the New Orleans Saints, and KC is a 5.5-point favorite. There's a chance that the Vikings are the undefeated team to pace everybody at 5-0 at the end of Sunday's slate, or by the time that KC kicks off on Monday night, they're the only unbeaten team left. Might we see unbeatens be done By the end of week 5, KC is a favorite. So is Minnesota, but the Vikings laying 2.5. Joe, you just said, will the Vikings be 5-0 after London entering the bye week? You say no. Why do you think the Jets are going to win outright on Sunday?
I'm sorry, Ben, just teed myself up there. But yes, the answer is absolutely not, Ben Stevens. There is not going to be an undefeated Vikings team heading into their bye week. And listen, this is a classic buy low, sell high. Everyone's running left. I am running right in this game here, and I believe it to be because a couple of different things. The Jets coming into this after an absolutely horrific loss, getting out of MetLife, getting out of the New York media, heading to London in order to play a game here in which, let's face it, the penalties last week, 14 penalties. They killed themselves. That's very fixable here. The cadence issues, very fixable here. Aaron Rodgers certainly, I think, took some responsibility for how terrible they were against the blitz. They know the blitz is coming this week. I think it was a great warm-up game. Denver, who blitzed them 43% of the time. I do think that Sam Darnold, this will be the best matchup defensively that he has had. I don't trust Sam Darnold. I think the entire market world is way too high on the Vikings. Great opportunity to get the Jets. Buy low on the Jets in this one. They will win this game outright.
You know what's so fascinating, Joe? It's one of the conversations that we had following week 1. The Jets opening weekend of the year on the road in San Francisco against a Super Bowl favorite in the 49ers. Of course, they were the underdog, and they did not cover. But then they were a favorite against Tennessee. They were a favorite week 3, laying near a touchdown against the Patriots, and a favorite last week, laying more than a touchdown against the Broncos. Of course, lost that game outright. But the question was, how many more times is this team going to be booked as a dog this season with all of the expectations? Because they've been an underdog 43 times since Robert Saleh took over as the head coach in 2021, and a favorite now just 11. They're an underdog once again, but an underdog people are looking at to make some noise across the pond to start off our Sunday slate. I go to the Las Vegas Raiders, plus 110 against Denver. First game for the Broncos this year, booked as a favorite a season ago in that match, or in those games under Sean Payton, 3-5-1 against the spread. Not a great underdog team or favored team by any means. And, Joe, there's something about Antonio Pierce, in my estimation, that allowed him to be the permanent head coach. It was the buy-in from a locker room. He talked about it following week 2. Business decisions were made, or maybe week 3. Business decisions were made by members of the Raiders. Was he directly referring to Davante Adams? Davante Adams no longer with Las Vegas. He is not going to play in this game. A hamstring injury is what they are calling it until he is dealt. I think there's a lot of buy-in right now for the Raiders. A belief in this organization entering this game against Denver that, hey, the guys that don't want to be here, they're not really going to be a part of this franchise. They'll go into Denver and win outright on the road on Sunday in Mile High. The Broncos defense, very good. But the Broncos have their 2 wins this year, Joe, when booked as an underdog of 5.5 points or greater in the year of the dog. Too bad Denver's now the favorite.
Yeah, this feels like a big letdown spot here for the Broncos, who have now allowed teams single-digit scoring in back-to-back games. I think this is in for a bit of a rude awakening. I am with you on this one here, Ben. Can't trust Denver. They should win with all the injuries to the Raiders, but wow, is this a big letdown spot.
The Broncos have been great defensively the last 2 weeks. If that continues, we're not going to see a ton of points in this game. It's the lowest total of the weekend at 35.5. We continue the pick 6 next. When Joe and I started our week 5 pick 6 around the National Football League for the Sunday slate, we were very complimentary of each other. Great anytime touchdown score. Ooh, I like that underdog to win outright as well. This is where it gets a little bit interesting because we are seeing offensive output and point production this week for Sunday vastly differently. Let's look at the unders, our favorite unders of the weekend. Joe Raineri, please begin.
Well, yeah, no, Ben, you and I are going to be on opposite sides of this one
Yeah, we
here,
are.
but I am absolutely looking at the under with Cincinnati and Baltimore now under 49 after ballooning up as high as 50 and a half. And listen, if I'm not mistaken, right now at last look here, totals above 50 are 4-0 to the under this season
Correct.
in the NFL. And if you go back to last season, totals sitting at 50 or higher are 16-4 to the under. The public loves them some overs. The public looks at this and goes, oh, wow, this is going to be the Cincinnati defense is terrible. This is going to be points, points, and more points. Well, you've got an AFC North divisional battle in which these two teams know each other extremely well. What we don't realize here is that Cincinnati is getting their reinforcements back on the defensive side of the ball. Hendrickson is going. B.J. Hill is back in the middle. Miles Murphy back in the middle of that Cincinnati defensive line. Ultimately, listen, we know what the Ravens are. They're a running team. They run on over 55% of their plays. They're going to keep trying to run against this Bengals team because if Lamar Jackson's your option of having to drop back and throw 40, 50 times in a game, that's not a great recipe for success for this Ravens team. I think the Bengals defense steps up. These two teams don't like each other. I would not expect this to be one of those games in which I think both will have some success scoring, Ben, but that is a big number to go over. That's got blowout written all over it, and I don't think so. I think this game's much tighter, much more like a field goal. It's more 24-21 to me than anything reaching 30 points.
So let me just go to my alt line then, because I love points in this matchup. Ravens Bengals over 53 and a half at plus 162. Now, the very compelling points that you said with confidence, Joe Raineri, about the Bengals getting their defensive reinforcements does scare me a little bit off my belief that we see an over on Sunday afternoon in Cincy. But based on trends, the Bengals right now over in their last 3 games with at least 51 points scored in all 3, where Cincy has allowed at least 24 points. They are averaging 25.5 points per game. That's top 10 right now in terms of scoring offensive output in the NFL. Baltimore inside the top 5 at 26.5 points per game. And the Ravens defense hasn't been all that stellar either. Really good last week against Buffalo. Outside of that, the Raiders came back and beat them. KC scored 27 on the opening night. And the Cowboys game alters these numbers just a little bit, but Baltimore still allowing more than 22 points per game. And since he has struggled defending the run this year, allowing more than 145 yards on the ground, I think it's a tight game. I think we trade scores back and forth. I think we see some points. That's my alt line. Joe and I disagree. Here's my under in a game that Raineri thinks we see some points on Sunday. I go to Jacksonville. The Jags, a 2.5-point home favorite. I go under 46.5 against Indianapolis. Jacksonville right now tied for the 3rd worst scoring offense in the National Football League, averaging just 15 points per game. They have been under in 3 of their 4. In fact, only 31 points scored in their only home game in Duval County. It was week 2 against Cleveland, 18-13, the final there. The only game Jacksonville has been booked as the favorite as well. And the main concern for me, Joe, with Indianapolis is not really Anthony Richardson's status. I think Joe Flacco can move the football in Shane Steichen's offense, but I think it will be more difficult for Flacco without being able to rely on Jonathan Taylor, who is listed as questionable at the moment, but he doesn't have props out. He's on my fantasy team. He doesn't have a projected score out as of this moment. I think we stay under 46.5 in Jacksonville on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think a desperate Jacksonville team is going to have to put up a lot of points in order to win this game because the injuries on the defensive side are not going to allow them to get after anybody. I don't care who the quarterback is for Indy here. So Steichen likes to go up tempo in spots here. I think it's going to be a fascinating. I don't love the over. It's the only way I would lean, Ben, but gotcha. I do think there's an opportunity for Jacksonville to finally win a game. And if they don't, Could that be the first firing of the year?
Ooh, listen, you are correct, right? 0-4 start for the Jags. This is when job security is at stake. So I went slightly out of order. I went to my alt line because you were talking about the Bengals and the Ravens,
Yes.
and that was my alt line. Your alt line, Joe Raineri, is what game?
Yeah, I'm going to go alt line. It's going to be Green Bay here, who I think is going to be able to name their score here. Now, they did lose Christian Watson. He's out with a high ankle sprain, but they have just a plethora of wide receivers, including a very good one in Datovian Wicks here that they're going to be able to slot right in there for Watson. We saw what happened in the first half against Minnesota. There was some rust involved there with Jordan Love. We saw what they did in the second half, though, didn't we? Which was go up tempo, and that was a totally different team you watch there. This is one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL, if not the worst. I think Green Bay is going to put up a ton of points in this game. I think they're going to wash the stink of that loss off against Minnesota. I think they got at least 30-plus points in this game coming their way against the Rams.
Yeah, listen, Joe, hard to fault that. It's my favorite prop of the weekend for what you just mentioned. LA is the second worst total defense in the National Football League. They are not great against the pass. Not good news. They are also awful against the run. They are the worst rushing defense in the NFL. We'll talk our favorite yardage props of the weekend and then combine forces for a two-leg, 6-point teaser for Sunday next. We are live here on a Football Friday on the early line on SportsGrid. He is Joe Raineri. I am Ben Stevens. We round out our pick six with our final two components, our favorite yardage prop of the weekend, and then a two-leg, 6-point teaser. Through the opening 4 weeks, September was not kind to our teasers, Joe, but they hit in week number 5. It's been so hard in the year of the underdog because it makes sense to tease a team down from a touchdown favorite to a pick, but those touchdown favorites can't even win a game outright. I digress. Let's start with our favorite yardage prop of the weekend. Joe, who is the player you are circling for week number 5?
So I am going to go to the Buffalo Bills and the Houston Texans game, and I am going to focus on James Cook going up and over his rushing yards prop here. One who was 57.5 and might be a little bit higher there. But listen, we talked about it earlier here. This is not a good Houston Texans rushing defense. They're right around 23rd in the NFL in rushing D this year. Cook only touched the ball 10 times in that game against the Ravens on Sunday, and I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that the Bills were behind the 8 ball right away. I don't see that happening here. I also think that running the ball and being more balanced is exactly what the Bills want to be here. They don't want to put it all on Josh Allen. I think he's going to be a big part of the game plan against Houston, take advantage of a team that's got to worry about Josh Allen running the ball in the passing game and also James Cook. And I think he'll have a couple of really big runs and a big part of the game plan against this Texans team. So I'm going to look over his rushing yard prop.
The Houston Texans in the better half, in the top 16, if you will, of teams defending the run in the NFL. But those numbers are greatly skewed by one game, Sunday night, week 2, against the Bears. They gave up a $158 last week to Jacksonville. Jonathan Taylor had a nice day against them week number 1. Even week number 3, Joe, Aaron Jones was the key component of Minnesota's offense. Love that look, and James Cook has been doing it as a receiver as well, maybe a combo prop if you like that. The Rams, though, are the worst rushing defense in the National Football League, giving up more than 165 yards per game on the ground. So I look at Josh Jacobs. 62.5 is the number. If you watched the game last week against Minnesota, they were down 28-zip. That was the Packers. Jordan Love was a little bit too helter-skelter, I think, for Matt LaFleur's liking in terms of winning football games. I think they focus on the ground once again. Josh Jacobs, 84 yards in his first 2 games with Green Bay. At least 16 attempts in both. He has been under this number of 62.5 2 consecutive weeks. But last week, Joe, a bright spot. Again, they could not run it often because they were trailing by 4 touchdowns in about 22 minutes of game action. But still, 9 carries, 51 yards, 5.7 yards per pop for Josh Jacobs. I think he has a good day against the Rams, who are the worst rushing defense in the National Football League, because 62.5 is not an awfully large number for Jacobs to go over. And like you, Joe, I think Green Bay names their number. I think they have a great offensive day in LA and get win number 1 with Jordan Love starting under center this year. All right, here we go. Come on. First Sunday in October, week number 5. This is when it hits. 2-leg, 6-point teaser. Joe, your leg first, please.
No, well, listen, don't feel too bad because Wong teasers have been absolute garbage this season thus far. Yeah. But I'm with you. I think that might change here. And I am going to go out west, and I'm going to look at the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to tease them down to right around a pick 'em there, Ben. I'm just asking them to win the game here, and I think they will do that. And I think it'll do it rather easily, as they will be much better defensively. 5 starters back on the field, defensive line, linebacker, and secondary members all back. It's going to be a long day for the Giants, so I need Seattle to win this game.
The Giants already tied for the 3rd worst scoring offense in the NFL. I'm not really sure where they find the output, especially with the uncertainty around Malik Neighbors. He is in concussion protocol. Now, I think Buffalo deserves to be the favorite in Houston. I think the game is kind of too close to call. So I'll take the Texans through 2 key numbers, up from a 1.5 dog to over a touchdown underdog. Again, Houston with C.J. Stroud, 7-4 against the spread as an underdog last year. They have not been a dog yet this season. I think the game is close, at least decided by less than a touchdown. He is Joe Raineri. I am Ben Stevens. Thanks for tuning in to a Football Friday. We'll see you on Monday on the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern. Until then, have a great weekend.